Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh and a very good morning and salam Ramadan. Welcome to our 9th session of webinar series Captain of Industry, brought to you by Faculty of Engineering, University Technology Malaysia. We are initiating university-industry collaboration during MCO to have a platform with our Captain of Industry to share their thoughts, way forward and challenges during post-COVID-19. Now we are streaming live from Facebook Faculty of Engineering UTM. Today we would like to welcome Yang Berbahagia Datuk Dr. Muhammad Yusoff Sulaiman, President and CEO Malaysia Industry Group for High Technology, MIT, with his topic today entitled New High Tech Agenda. Without further ado, I would like to invite Yang Berusaha Professor Dr. Engineer Dr. Muhammad Rafiq Haji Abdul Kadir, Dean Faculty of Engineering to introduce our captain today. Over to you, Dato'.
Thank you, Murni. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning to our speaker, Dr. Yusoff. And also a very good morning to all of you watching this Captain of Industry webinar live through our Faculty of Engineering Facebook. First of all, I would like to say thank you so much to our presenter today. Despite his busy schedule, can still slot an hour with us to share his experience as the President and CEO of MIT and be appointed as our Captain of Industry. Dato' Yusoff, it is certainly a great honor to have you with us this morning, Dato'.
Thank you, Dato'.
Let me brief all of you a short biography of our speaker. Dato' Dr. Muhammad Yusoff bin Sulaiman is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Malaysian Industry Government Group for High Technology, MIT. MIT is a premier partnership organization in Malaysia, a powerhouse for future thinking and knowledge advancement. Our motto is Together We Make It Happen. Dato' Dr. Yusoff is also the President of the Malaysian Rail Industry Corporation, MARIC. He sits on the board of several technology-related government-linked companies involved in renewable energy, technology park, aerospace, automotive, technology financing, and others. He also serves on several S&T, Science and Technology, and industry-related national level and international committees. Without further ado, I call upon Dato' Dr. Yusoff. Over to you, Dato'.
Thank you. Thank you, Dato' Professor. Thank you, Puan Murni. Thank you, UTM Engineering Faculty for inviting me this morning. I'm very happy to be here and in fact, very proud to be listed as one of the captains of the industry, which is quite a big recognition title. I'll try to live up to it this morning. And I choose the title New High Technology Agenda is not because just of the COVID-19 pandemic, but also because we were actually moving into the 4th industrial revolution, and therefore the country needs to be guided by a new high technology agenda. So bear with me for the next half an hour or so. I'll see whether I can whet your appetite for high technology agenda. Now, I was expecting a lot of students to be in the audience this morning. So as a former lecturer too, I would just like to put some questions, sort of homework for the students. But I guess this question is relevant to everybody. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic is mentioned as many things. I mean, Bill Gates talked about it as a war, another form of war. I'd like to quote Philip Kotler, the marketing guru, who actually described it as a trauma. You know, it's something really unexpected. It's really something big, which we were not prepared for. So it's a trauma. Now, now that we are sort of adjusting ourselves to this trauma and preparing for the post-COVID pandemic, we need to ask ourselves a few questions. Yeah. So I put there about 4. It's not exhaustive, but these are very important questions that we need to answer by the end of the day, or even as we think about it for the next few weeks. Number one is, are we creating resilient industries? Because as we can see during the pandemic, some industries go under, some industries prosper. Where are we, Malaysia, in adopting some of these industries? And question number two, are we increasing self-sufficiency? Because the pandemic actually created a lot of requirements for certain products which are not necessarily available to us, and if you are banking on other countries to supply it, then there will be some gaps in terms of the supply and demand. And then of course that relates to the rethinking of the business supply chain. As you can, as you're sitting home, Prof. Datuk, you're sitting home, I'm sure you are ordering your food, your other items from, not the normal supply chain, or by going to the supermarket yourselves. So these are really, shifting the way business are being conducted. And then finally, to be relevant to this particular webinar series, what role would university-industry collaboration play in terms of revitalizing the economy and making Malaysia more resilient in the future? So I put it under the high technology imperatives. Why high tech? High technology has a certain characteristic that create and provide the economy of a country with a lot of benefits. I started with MIT about 25 years ago when I was asked to develop the National Aerospace Blueprint. That was the first time I think Malaysia is embarking on a very high-tech sector, and that actually creates a lot of spin-out or spin-off to other things because of our ability to master a certain type of technology, especially aerospace, dealing with leading-edge technology. So as you can see, there is a lot of benefit, but really we have to optimize more of these value-added activities and look at other emerging sectors that provide those kind of direct and indirect benefits. And then we also have we need to set a target as other countries are also moving up the ladder. We need to actually find a niche for ourselves. We are a small country, small demand, but we need to actually create a demand for our products globally. And then what kind of planning strategy that we need to put in place? That's the crux of the discussion that we have today. So again, on the right side, productivity, R&D, industrial innovation, these are words very familiar to universities and students. So these are the things that we need to enhance and cultivate much more. So these are very important imperatives that we need to think about when people ask us why high technology. This should form the basis of the economic development of a nation like Malaysia. Well, I need to quote my former patron, Tun Mahathir, who has been, imbuing this technology mindset for Malaysia since the 80s. He quote, high technology sector plays an important role in driving economic growth. Our mastery of technology will provide us with the strength and capacity to be a leader and not just a follower. So this is a very important message. And I think that message was further strengthened by saying that we should not just be involved in research or in other activities that does not contribute to a full product. So is it not enough if we just produce parts and components here and there, but I think we need to actually produce the full product. So that's how the pandemic is showing up, that you need to actually have a full product with the whole ecosystem to be self-sufficient in your own country. So how many of us know Malaysia's position in the high-tech export arena? We are number 11 in the world, and we are actually contributing about 100 billion US dollars worth of high-tech exports. And that's a huge amount compared to many developing nations around the world. And this has been increasing, and this actually augurs very well in terms of how we are, involving ourselves in high-tech exports with the high-tech value, and this has been consistent for Malaysia to sit at number 11 or number 10 for the last 10 years. So that is a very good place to start if you're looking for why high-tech. But if you look closer, again, back to what Tone was referring to, 70% of our high-tech exports are semi-finished or intermediate products. So this is where we need to change and go one two step further, and maybe that is where we need to focus post-pandemic to really develop the ecosystem fully so that we can actually produce our own complete product, our own brands, and etc. Technology supremacy has been used by many of the world power. Nations like Great Britain, US has been using technology to showcase their might, and this is has been shown in history for a long time. The countries with that technology that possess high technology capability can actually conquer the world and conquer other countries. But at the same time, we're looking at countries like Japan, South Korea, Taiwan that have been doing it for some time, and now China, Vietnam, and Thailand are also embracing this high technology development for their own purpose. So there again, a must for Malaysia to continue to invest in high technology development so that we are not left behind even with our current neighbors. So that's where we stand. So we are good. We have been good at exporting many of our high-tech products, but we now need to move one or two steps higher to complete it, to have our own brands and to be self-sufficient in the market. So this is just very academic. What is high technology? And there are two basically definition that is coming from the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Sorry about the misspelling there. They start to classify high-tech industry based on the R&D intensity, that is the R&D expenditure as a percentage of production. So then they list out the various type of industry in that range. Eurostat is another body which is a statistical office of the European Union, also taking the same approach, and therefore we have a common high-tech definition all over. So it's not just Malaysia define it ourselves, but for MITE as a working definitions, although we actually take the products and services as defined by Eurostat and OECD, but we go a little bit further into looking into the process. And we take a process that is considered to be high-tech if it requires high level of competency and knowledge. So for example, like in a herbal products sector, the extraction of the active ingredients is high-tech, and therefore we actually take herbal products as a high-tech sector in that sense. So these are some of the classification. Easy to see high-tech industries. Immediately comes to mind aircraft, spacecraft, pharmaceuticals, communications equipment, medical precision devices. These are immediately comes to mind. And as I mentioned, I mean, that's what Malaysia did the first thing when we talk about high-tech and move into the aerospace industry, look into aircraft and spacecraft. So these are the classifications immediately that comes to mind. This is from OECD, and even from Eurostat is almost the same. You have the aerospace, computer, office equipment, and the rest. So what I'm just trying to show is that if you want to check this out, you can go to OECD and Eurostat websites. You can get all the lists. But it's also to say that we are benchmarking ourselves with other countries on the same basis. So the chart that I showed you earlier about why Malaysia high-tech exports is following the same criteria. Yeah. So what's the case for developing the high-tech agenda? So as we going through this pandemic, it's really change us socially. Datuk is staying at home. I'm traveling to the office just for this presentation, but most of the time will be staying at home too, and all the rest of you, I'm sure, are doing the same thing. But other things that we have already considered even before the pandemic is that the social trends, for example, like aging population, the digital generations, urbanization, shrinking working population because of these factors are really making us rethink about how do we approach socio-economic development. So we have to make decisions to respond to some of these social-driven trends. Technology, well, this is moving very rapidly. We talk about hyperconnectivity, the 5Gs, blurring of the traditional boundaries. When you talk about automotive or aerospace now, it's blurring. So these are some of the challenges that the fourth industrial revolution is bringing in. Klaus Schwab, the chairman or the president of the World Economic Forum, says that the fourth industrial revolution means that you cannot work alone anymore. It's about the convergence of three different elements: virtual, physical, and biological. So you need to get this collaboration intact, or the knowledge intact, so that you can actually develop products and services for the market. Economic driven trends, globalization, decentralization, protectionism, and also certification. These are other things that is driving the need for a totally new agenda for Malaysia, not only in high tech but also in other areas. But only covering high tech today. And the environment driven trends, of course, we know about the Sustainable Development Goals. It's talking about a lot of compliance and about saving the environment and nature for the future generation. So this becomes some of the parameters that we have to work within, so that we can actually fulfill many of the social, technological, economic, and environmental objectives. So one example of a country, China, how they are responding to this kind of trends. As you can look, they have a strategy of meeting that challenges by developing certain cluster, developing the FTZs and SEZs, special economic zones, and then developing technology parks, its innovation centers, accelerators, and also empowering the entrepreneurs, startups, and new tech firms. So this is one way China is really harnessing their industrial deepening and strengthening their ecosystem to actually meet the future challenges of the world. And we have seen many of successes that Chinese companies and also the government has achieved in the past 10 years. But there are also local perspectives that we need to look at. For example, maintaining growth and productivity of the manufacturing industry. So the manufacturing is badly hit with the pandemic. Raw material supply, basically we talk about the supply chain just now, is broken down. Not only the COVID-19 virus chain is broken down, but other chain, for example, like the manufacturing industry, is also broken down. We need to enhance our national competitiveness. We are there hovering around the 26th, 25th position. We need to work harder to get ourselves in a better position. Another social issue that we need to also overcome is the high dependency of foreign labor, and we need to create high value added jobs for our own people. And then small medium enterprise risk being left behind if there's no push, if there's no new direction for them to follow. So these are some of the local perspectives. And I just give one example about working university industry model. This is actually modeled after the Advanced Manufacturing Research Center of the Sheffield University, that has a very good collaboration between university and industry. We emulate that. And as you can see on the left-hand side, lead members such as Airbus, Rolls-Royce, CTRM, and then with the government side, and also with all the universities that is actually involving in technology are there. So it's funded 50% each by the private and government sector. It's a truly good model to follow, replicate by others. It deals with biomass, it deals with aerostructures, it deals with technology which are even can be used for beyond aerospace industry. So this is what we want to do, because we like to look at the spin-off of the aerospace sector into other industries which may benefit from this technology. So Professor Dato, UTM, may want to study this model and try to create a very strong participation by both industry and university. So I move straight into the action forward. We do not have much time. But this strategy and this high technology agenda must be very encompassing. It's not merely talking about just the technology, yes. We know that emerging technologies like IoT, blockchain, artificial intelligence, and others are coming to the fore. But these are really enablers to help support whatever sector or industry that we want to focus on, those resilient sectors that we identify. And then we need to have the entrepreneurs and the firms working in these areas to provide that kind of innovation, that kind of products, services coming out from them. We have to actually incentivize them and support them altogether. And then we have the nation's strategic advantage. One is our people are very talented. We also have a very huge biodiversity, natural resources. We have a lot of experience in many of the manufacturing sector. These are the things that we need to pull together, and then to with the entrepreneurs and emerging technologies, look at that targeted global market. This is where many countries get it wrong, when you actually approach this thing from a supply side and then try to create products and services which nobody wants. So we have to think, especially for Malaysia, which have a very small population, how do we actually create that demand, whether within our country or beyond our shores. So there's a lot of opportunity to look at our neighboring countries, the kind of products and services that they are requiring. And better still, using some form of collaborative model, whether through the universities or the industries, start to work together and fulfill whatever gaps are really in need in these member countries. So by working together, we will know much more closer what each country may need for their own citizen and for their own use. So targeted global market should come first in our mind before we start to develop the other portions of the ecosystem. So when we do that, then inshallah our products and services may be able to attract demand very easily. So it's about connecting the dots. So we have the global market, we have to study it. Sometimes we look at our advantage of being a good Islamic country, a good Islamic finance product, a good halal products. Then if you just look at the border around Malaysia, there's 100 million market. Southern of Thailand, southern of Philippines, part of Indonesia is about 100 million population. So you're not talking about just a few million in Malaysia, you're talking about that. So that aspirations can be pushed, make known to the entrepreneur and the firms, and create that kind of a channel for them to market their products to these. Beyond that, of course, we're looking at other regions where our products and services might be useful. Middle Eastern region, for example, that could actually be in need of many technology that we produce. Relevant technologies that have to be developed. Resources are very scarce. Again, I think this pandemic actually shows that we have to focus on the things that we want to develop and do everything under the sun, and we have to look at where we can be good at. I always like to give example of one drone company in Malaysia that has gone global, using artificial intelligence as their strength, and then using the drone as the platform to provide services to about 30 countries in the world, and they already ranked number 3 in the world. So I think that shouldn't stop other companies in Malaysia to achieve that kind of success. So I'm coming back to the question that I raised very early in the presentation. So the business technology responses that we have to put in place, we need to create resilient industries. And on the right are some examples given by Lux Research recently. Areas like in materials, digital industry, agri-food, energy, and also mobility. These some of things that we are already good at. Some of these areas need to do something more, and and create that kind of future for our country. Increasing self-sufficiency is very, very key. Food, for example, is very important. Energy is another, and therefore we have to now look at other development in these areas, so that we can actually create that kind of self-sufficiency. So agri-food, modernizing our agriculture sector, precision farming and other things could add to that. But also the third point is about the business supply chain. To make sure that everything is available, we need to make sure that these supply chain are intact, that they are meeting the future needs in terms of environment, in terms of societal constraints. Therefore, we will be able to meet the challenges of the future. Strengthening university industry links should not be understated. These basically are the core. It support clusters, it support innovation, it supports problem solving. It helps industry to find new avenues for business. And I think UTM is well positioned to do this, and I think it should be encouraged to create more industry links in the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's about all I'd like to present to start some kind of discussion, conversation with you, Alhamdulillah. So I pass back to the moderator. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Datuk, for your speech, for your thoughts today, for your good, inspiring, and thoughtful sharings. Okay. All right. And despite of your busy schedule, you are giving your precious time with us. We believe it would benefit for our students, staff, and alumni as well. All right. So we are looking for questions from our viewers if they have. All right. From Mr. Jauhari Khairuddin, Indonesia just received influx of investment from US when the US a company decided to shift their factory from China to Indonesia. What about Malaysia? Any new investment coming in the very near future? How about it, Datuk?
The last part of the question will be answered by Maida, CEO, on the 30th of this month. He'll be having his own webinar to explain to the people where the new investment is coming from. But well, one of the companies that I sit as a board member is Kulim High Tech Park, and Kulim High Tech Park has been receiving the bulk of the investment, especially in high technology into Malaysia, and we have been attracting companies from all over the world to come to Kulim High Tech Park. We already hear about many of Chinese companies which will be wanting to relocate some of their facilities to Malaysia, even from US wanting to do this. But the whether it's going to be something which is real or not, I think the Maida CEO will be in a better position to answer that question. But certainly Malaysia has all the qualities of attracting investments into Malaysia, and I very, very much encourage that these investments are into the high-tech sectors, especially, which augurs very well in terms of providing jobs, providing that kind of economic benefits to the country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Datuk. Okay, we move for the next questions. All right, from Zafira Hashim. Assalamualaikum, Datuk. What is the challenges implementing new high-tech agenda, especially during the pandemic?
Well, there's a multi-layered challenges, because it's showing up in a form of different societal responses, different political responses, and talking about the environmental requirements that have existed since the Paris Convention, talking about sustainable development goals. Already it has been challenging. The pandemic actually just add more weight to these challenges. But really, I think the important thing is back to the human capital development. Yeah, the ability of our people to master certain skills and competencies to work in that future industries. For example, in terms of software coding, in terms of data analytics, these are some things that we need to have more of them, because this is what, referring back to the first question, sometimes the investment coming from overseas is asking about that kind of pool of talented people that we have. But alhamdulillah, in many situations, we do have these people. They may need to be trained a little bit to fit into that particular industry, but they have that. So I say the first challenge would be making our people more agile, more adaptable to new competencies, to new skills that is coming up in the future industries. But again, another I think the talks in the future of work is this gig economy, where people are working not as a full-time or fully employed in any organization. So this is becoming a trend. People are doing freelancing, people are doing part-time, and this need to be regulated. So if we are talking about this flourishing in the future, then the government regulatory machinery must be adaptable to provide that kind of protection, that kind of enforcement. I mentioned drone industry earlier. If we want to send food to Datuk Professor at home using drone, we need the proper regulation to allow drones to fly, and to make sure that it's safe for the community, the population, when we do this kind of new technologies. So these people regulation, and then as I mentioned also, market. The market has changed. Countries are now closing their doors. Basically, nationalization is becoming a very prominent mindset now. I want the supply to come from my own companies inside my own country. So where do we now look for new markets? So there again, as I mentioned, if we're able to develop some kind of collaboration with companies or institutions in that host country, in that target country, then we may be able to understand what they need and open doors as such. So the marketing that we have been doing in the past may have to change as countries close their borders towards other products, to other countries' products. Mentioned about supply chain is changing. How we actually manage the supply chain has to be thought about in a new way. Now, as shown that middlemen, intermediaries are no longer required in many of the instances. Grocery purchasing can be done direct from the fishermen, from the people who rear cows and etc. You can actually get it directly. So, but then again, how do you manage this kind of supply chain in the future? So these are a lot of challenges that we need to bring in and thought about to create this new agenda for the country, inshallah.
Okay, thank you so much, Datuk. All right, thank you very much for your time and effort. Oh, okay, we have another questions from Zahran Kuzari. Yang berbahagia Datuk, I always feel that university in Malaysia is producing a lot of fresh grads, which cannot be absorbed by the industry. I feel that the industry in Malaysia still are lacking in terms of technology use as well the amount of high-tech industry. This is sort of catch-22 situation. You can't have high industry without sufficient local talent, and huge pool of local talent can't get job. Any comment? Thanks in advance.
Yes, I think that is a situation which is not only unique to Malaysia, is happening everywhere else. Again, the need to develop industries and businesses which are more in applying new technology or high technology is very, very critical. And I think the some of the areas that I've shown on the screen just now about materials industry, these are something that can actually be explored using our own natural resources, yeah, biomass and etc. And you apply high technology and you can get products which are more environmental friendly and etc. So the catch 22 situation must be broken. That means that if there are talents somewhere and there are these available resources that they can use to create new businesses, then we have to link them. And this is where, rightly you say, this is where university is very important, and how they collaborate with the industry is very, very key. So in fact, even before the student come out of the university, this actually link has to be created depending on what discipline that they are doing. And secondly, that I mentioned also about these new skill sets, new competencies, is no longer enough to have one particular talent, one particular competency. It's now a multidisciplinary world. You therefore have to actually develop more than one particular competency. So if you find it difficult in the first instance, then try to develop another competency. Like if you're doing engineering, probably next skill that you need to acquire will be data analytics or some to that, and then even develop marketing skills for these for yourself, so that you can actually create either a new business or you can actually get employed. There are opportunities. The pandemic has shown that many new businesses are cropping up. Many industries which were before dormant is now rising up. And somebody was saying, even if I'm as an individual boleh can advise the jiran, the neighbor beside me who is selling kuih, that is something that is required in the new future situation. It's no longer talking about working like that, but there are a lot of opportunities. If you look to your left, to your right, in your hometown, look to your family structures, there are people that actually can provide some form of opportunities for you. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, for sure, Datuk. All right. The next question is: does might help technology related startup company?
Very much, yes. But not only might, there are other agencies which actually help startup companies. But might has a special way of treating startups. Our door is always open. Anybody can come in and have a chat with any one of our experts in terms of any problems or solutions that you have. You can even talk to me, and I will try to gauge what are the challenges that you're facing, and then get you to the right people or get you to the right solutions to overcome it. We do have a little bit of funding to help startups, but I think also other agencies with more bigger funding than us. But we actually provide the service with a smile. We love startups, so we love your problems. So if you have any challenges that is in front of you, just talk to us anytime. In fact, whether from home or from the office, we'll be happy to serve you. That's why we are here. That's why we are here.
Thank you, Datuk. Thank you so much. Okay, all right. From Zafira, since you are talking about skills just now, what is the skills required, especially for UTM students to survive? Since most of the industry freeze their hiring during this pandemic?
Well, this question should be for your Professor Datuk actually, and he will know much more. But looking from the industry side, everybody's talking about the digitalization of so many things, whether it's digitalizing the business, digitalizing the supply chain. So you have to have some kind of a digital related capabilities or competencies. I mentioned data analytics is very important as we look at new markets. We need data. Data, of course, but we need people who can analyze those data and create, directions for the companies or for their products. So data analytics is always number one. I think Lux Research put it as a number one skills to have by graduates and also beyond the graduates. That's very, very important. I think marketing will be very, very important in the future. So if you are engineer, you need to have some kind of a marketing exposure too. It's totally new way of marketing now. So you need to have that kind of understanding. And of course, people skills is very required. Now there is a lot of using online. People sometimes do not know, even I do not know whether to smile on screen or how to, get people to be attracted to my whatever I'm saying. But these are again another skills that we need to gauge, online platforms and how we actually communicate through that. So I hope that give you maybe 10%, 20% to your question, but you can read. There's a lot of articles talking about these new skills and new requirements for graduates. Thank you.
Okay, thank you again, Dato'. All right, from Dr. Ainul Lutfi Abdul Latif, one of the difficulties of researchers in planning their work is the lack of a clear long-term strategy for the nation and the changing focus every 4 to 5 years. For example, in the area of aerospace, we do not know what the focus is for the next 30 to 40 years for the country. As such, we researchers have to change the focus every few years, which can be a waste of time and resources. Can you comment on that?
Yes, generally, doctor, that is true. That plans, strategy tend to change whenever there is a change, in the political timeline. So yes, but you mentioned aerospace. I mean, that's the one that I've been working on since I started the National Aerospace Blueprint way back in the middle 1990s. This has been the most consistent sector actually. I could tell you what would be the focus for the next 30 or 40 years for the aerospace sector, because not only by the things that we do through our companies, but because of the involvement of companies like Airbus Industry, Rolls-Royce, and others in the platform I mentioned just now, the Aerospace Malaysia Innovation Center, we are able to understand the kind of research that is required in this industry. I've listed that just now, some of the industries in the aerostructures, in the biofuel, in the automation robotics area, and etc. That's just very clearly defined for the aerospace industry. But unfortunately, this is an industry which was really greatly affected by the pandemic because of the reduction in the traveling demand. But I think it will recover, eventually. And in Malaysia, we are very clear of if doctor would keep in touch with me, I can provide some of the areas that we are working on. And I agree with you that if the changes occur too much, there will be a waste of time and resources. But we are trying. I mean, it might be look at the long-term approach of everything. We try to stick to that particular strategy, and then to make sure that the resources are utilized properly. So thank you, doctor. You can get in touch with me, and we can have that discussion over the aerospace sector if you like. Thank you.
Inshallah, Datuk. Okay, thank you so much for your time and effort for our session, for our Captain of Industry session today. And we are such an honor for us to having you with us today. Okay, then I'll pass back to Yang Berbahagia Datuk Rafiq for his last few words for today. Over to you, Datuk.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Murni. Dr. Yusoff, thank you so very much for spending some of your precious time with us. Really enjoy all the slides. I mean, there was one slide where you show that Malaysia is number 11 in the world for high-tech exports. That is
Right.
something new to me. I mean, it's an amazing achievement. 100 billion, if I'm not mistaken, you mentioned just now, 100 billion USD, not 100 billion ringgit Malaysia, but 100 billion USD. So that's a huge achievement. You also showed one of the slides where in order to become a leader and not a follower, we need to have a lot of investment in high tech. That is if you are aware that UTM recently merged all our engineering disciplines, and we also include in our Faculty of Engineering the School of Computing. Because we believe that way forward is fourth industrial revolution, and we need to revamp our engineering curriculum so that it becomes a high-tech curriculum, high-tech engineering curriculum. So yes, in this world where technology-driven market is getting a lot of attention, that's why we approach you, because we believe that both of us, UTM and MIND, have something in common, and where there are a lot of things that we can collaborate in the future. So, Dato' Yusoff, thank you again for spending your precious time with us. It is certainly a great honor to have you this morning. And to all our viewers, thank you to all of you joining our session right now. And please don't forget to, let me try this time. Yes, okay. Like, comment, and share our Facebook. All right. Because we have many more interesting topics in the future. So thank you to all of you. Back to you, Murni.
Okay, thank you, Datuk. And thank you for our viewers today. It's always a pleasure for us for having our large number of viewers for our webinar Captain of Industry today. Of course, we have coming new, more interesting topics in coming session. Please wait to our upcoming webinar, and surely with interesting topic to be shared. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep your social distancing. Yeah, I'm live from my office today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and share our program. Have a good day. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam Ramadan. Bye and see you next time.